Hello! Today we're going to draw a chick. So take your favorite pencil and begin to shape in and form his beak. A chick's beak is shorter. Just form his head. You can darken up the lines as you like the form that you are drawing. Just define his beak. The bottom part is a lot narrower than the top part of the beak. Just sketch in the bottom of his head, his back. His back kind of slopes really quickly into his tail. Just forming in the fluffy part of him and defining it differently from the back side of his feathers. Just kind of creating a roundness with the use of line. Sketching in his chest fluff. And just a repetition of a pattern that creates that look of fluff. So it's almost like pointy icicles. Jagged all over. He'll be the darkest at the bottom side of him because that's the farthest away from the light. And now we're going to ground our chick with his feet. Draw some toes. They're quite irregular shaped. The toes are kind of funny looking chick's feet. And they're quite textured. They're quite rough. So we can create that roughness with the use, roughness with the use of line. Draw in his other foot. His little toes. I don't think chicks' toes are called toes, but today they're toes. Create some shadow. And the use, we're just gonna clean up that line a little bit. You can always do that at the end, but I just did that now. Add in his little claws, little nails. Define his back. He actually has developed feathers in the back of side of him, more developed. His end tail feathers are long, but these are just small little feathers, but they're actually formed. They're not just fluff. So just create a look of these feathers by the repetition of these like upside down rainbows. Define his head a bit more. And now I'm kind of fluffing up just to kind of take away that line that I used to form the top of his head. Darken up his beak, make it a little pointier. His beak is quite, it's hard to draw. You almost have to just try your best to draw the beak. It's kind of irregular, but it's specific at the same time. Darken up his face. I'm just using line over and over again. I'm kind of covering up his face, but you can always pause the video after I'm finished the face. My hand is in the way. Doing these detail parts. Just defining the top of his eye. So if you look at a chicken, there's a part of his face that's almost like a scaly skin. The top of his head is fluff, but just below his eye and his cheek, it's like a different texture. This area right here. So we're just going to define that, and it stays kind of a smooth, but it is kind of textury. Define the bottom of his face. Darken up his beak. Darken his eye. I like the shape of his eye. It's an oval shape. Draw on his pupil. Try to keep a little bit of white. The glint of white will really create life in the eye with that little bit of white. Oop, I kind of lost the white, but we can go back. We'll go back in later and touch up that white in his eye. When we highlight, just creating more detail in his face. Now the form is pretty much created. Now we're just going in and defining the form more, layering the lines, creating that detail. And this will pop up the image and create a more lifelike sketch. The light to dark, the transitions. Just continue to move around your paper. Adding lines where you think it'd be darker or more textured. This way and that way to create the form, to fluff him up. I'm just going to make his neck a bit darker here. His chin, his head would be shadowing this part of him. If the sun was coming from the top of his head, like to the right of the paper, shining down. So you can always imagine a light source with your image and using that angle. The farthest away from the light would be shadow, it would be dark. And as it gets closer to light, it would be lighter because the light would be starting to hit that part a little bit. I'm going to add more detail to his head. Define his beak, nice sharp pointy beak. And that part would be shadowed right under here. But just with the use of line. And we can blend in these harsh edges after. These tail feathers are a bit longer than the top feathers. And they'd be quite shadowed. The back side of him here. Create more shadow here with these feathers, a little more detail. And I will switch to a darker pencil in a moment here. We'll kind of go and add more detail here, darken up areas. Just continue to layer. Move around your chick. It's almost like a meditation at this point. You can take it as far as you want and really shade and add details and add highlights and go back and forth to create this very detailed, realistic image. Or you can just have a more simple sketch. I'm pretty happy with them already. But you will see as we continue and move and highlight and shade how the form pops out, how the chick comes to life. And now I'm just going to go in with my shader. And you can get these in different sizes. You can also use different household tools like Q-tips or even makeup tools as a shader. And I'm just going to blend in these harsh edges. Really create a nice transition from that dark to the light. Just move around my paper. See now his back is more defined from the rest of his body, the top part of this chick. We're going to really blend in the darker lines to create that fluffy, soft effect. We're going to blend in the feet. Kind of ease the edge of these lines. As well as his head, his face. Kind of blend in his eye a bit more. Then we'll go back in and fix his eye and add a little more depth to it. Blend all the harsh lines. You can always stop and observe. Or you can get into intuitive flow. Just gonna blend this area. As I blend it looks a bit darker in some areas. Blend in his beak. The bottom part of his beak would be a bit darker. It'd be shadowed by the top part. And right here it'd be really dark. Just continue to blend. Move around your paper. And I will come back in with a darker pencil and maybe even an eraser afterwards. And I'll probably blend again. You don't have to blend and add in dark in the same way. At this point, you can really decide how far do you want to go with this picture. Now this is my darker pencil. Kind of a softer, darker lead you can kind of see in comparison. And I'm putting the same pressure on. Just add more definition. Here, the feet would be quite dark. Darker values. Farther away from the light. And chicks' feet can be quite dark sometimes too. And they're rough. So with the use of line, you can create that rough, kind of scaly looking skin that chicks have. You can round the toes with the use of lines. So creating kind of like loopy little rainbows. You can use thicker lines to make something look darker edge as well. There, you can see the detail of the chick's feet. We're going to ground the chick, meaning we're going to add some ground, literally, with the use of line. It'll be the darkest right underneath his feet. And it'll get lighter as you go out. We're just going to create a little bit of a background so it's not floating in space. And you could draw flowers if you want. You could create whatever you want in the background. But we're not going to do that today. We're just going to add a little bit of ground. I imagine he's just outside, hanging out in a field, in a little dirt patch. Add a bit more darker lines. We're just darkening up, creating a little more detail, a little more depth. Just continuing to layer. Continuing to create the texture of a chick, his fluffy coat. Just creating more definition between the head and the body. In the last few minutes, we're just gonna add that detail, add those final touches. Darkening up areas, lightening up areas. Really create a nice defined cheekbone here. Under his brow would be quite dark, and we're going to go back to this eye too. Really define his face, define his beak. You can always stop and just observe your picture for a moment as well. Step back. Take a moment to see where you want to go, what areas you want to darken up, or lighten up. And this is quite defined, his tail feathers. Right over here would be quite dark. Just darken up this area. And then I'll go back in again with my shader or my finger and kind of blend these harsh edges once again. We're just really layering our picture. Creating that texture, creating that fluff. It's kind of this irregular pattern to draw fluff. Be darker here. Be really dark right there. Be super dark. And we're just kind of layering those lines. More lines in the darker areas, less in the lighter. And in the in between is kind of in between lines. Just moving around your paper in an intuitive flow. I'm pretty happy with this chubby little chick. Darken under here. Now I'll take my shader and just kind of blend these harsh edges. Just move around your paper. You can kind of tighten up lines or clean up edges. Any smudges on the white part of your paper. Blending in the harsh edges. Having a nice fluid transition of my image, the light to the dark. Kind of blend in these lines a little. I like a little bit of the harsh lines, but not too many. Just kind of smoothing out the image in a way. Moving around the paper. Creating that light and dark. We can always take an eraser too to highlight areas that we want a little bit lighter and brighter. Eraser can also be a tool. Go back in with a darker pencil and let's fix up this eye. Really define little glints of white. Look at the white, how it creates that life. Just creates that life. It's so simple but so effective. Really lighten up his lid. Be quite dark. Darken up his nostril. Really sharpen up that beak. Seems like as you get darker one place, you feel like you have to darken up another part of your image to balance it. Add a little bit of details by adding little tiny little strokes of my pencil on the face. Going back in, just like sharpening lines, adding more texture. This is the final touch. The final touches on your drawing, on this fluffy, chubby chick. So now I'm going back in and just highlighting in areas. And as I do that, wiping off the eraser bits. You can always go back in and touch up with the pencil if need be. I'm going to kind of blend some of these harsh white edges now. Just blend it in. I really like that transition, but the nice smooth transition between the dark and the light. And leaving some harsh edges. It just creates a more lifelike image. And the white in the eye, it just creates so much life. Really sharpen that beak. I don't mind if a little bit of the fluff is irregular, but the sharp beak. Okay, signing here. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.